Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates, also the co-author of the book Social Selling: Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. I'm here today with Connor Kinnear from Passle, and we're going to talk about blogging and the of using things like content as a way to generate leads and to actually get meetings with people, because there's a particular way that Passle can be used to actually get and put content in front of senior people from just as much as you would try and do that from a selling perspective. Before we go any further, Connor, just explain to everybody where they can find you.
Well, my name's Connor Kinnear, first of all, and I'm the CMO and head of global sales here at Passle. You can find us at www.passle.net, and you can find us on Twitter at Passle, P-A-S-S-L-E.
Fantastic. So you've got an interesting story about how Passle started, because you're actually a bunch of people that this is your second or third startup, and you're a bunch of mates that have come together 2 or 3 times, and it was actually the last time that you were together that you had a particular problem, and you thought there must be a way of actually solving this problem.
That's right. So I've worked with 2 brothers called Tom and Adam Elgar for a number of years, and this is their 3rd startup and the second one I've worked with them on. The second one was a company called Server-Side Group, which you probably won't have heard of, but you might have seen with Barclays and other banks. You can put a picture of your dog or your baby on your bank card, basically. So that's what we did. We built that software that allowed bank customers to do that. And then we sold that to big banks all around the world. So we sold it to Barclays and RBS and Wells Fargo and Chase and Capital One over in the US. It was quite a cool little product. I mean, we weren't changing the world or anything, Tim, but we allowed banks to engage in kind of a more emotional way with their customers. And actually, when we first built it, Tom, my colleague, he always said he thought it would be pictures of logos, so small business logos. But it turned out it was just really babies and dogs. But fortunately for us, there's loads and loads of dogs and loads of babies. So we started doing lots and lots of cards with our bank customers. And we kind of got a little bit lucky when we were there, because the likes of Facebook came along, and all of a sudden it was all about customization, and it was all about sharing images and photographs and things. So at that time, Barclays and other banks started trying to talk with their customers on Facebook. But what they did was they would say, we've got a new 18.9% APR on our new credit card. And everyone's like, I don't care, get off my Facebook page. What we did was we built the maps that said, who's got the cutest dog? And let's run a competition in that. And all of a sudden, they got tens of thousands of people entering these competitions, and the banks were able to engage with their customers. So that's kind of a little bit about what the product was. What we wanted to do with content was to talk to the people in the world that really mattered to us, and those people we wanted to influence. And there weren't that many of them, Tim, because there were only really maybe 50 big banks in the world that we really wanted to sell our software to, and probably 4 or 5 job titles in each of those. So it was kind of the CMO, the head of debit, the head of credit, maybe the CEO of the bank. So we tried to talk to those people. Traditionally, the way
ringing them up and
exactly through ringing them up, or trying to hopefully fly to an event in Singapore and fingers crossed bump into them, which is a pretty costly way of doing it, but it was effective. But we wanted to talk to them on an ongoing basis as well. So we needed to do that through our knowledge, our expertise. And because we had offices in Chicago, New York, London, and Auckland in New Zealand, we knew lots of things that were going on with these banks all around the world. So if something happened in Singapore with one of our clients, we knew what they were doing. And we wanted to tell our prospects or clients in New York or in San Francisco, whatever it might be as well. So we started trying to talk to them through content. So we said, let's write regular blogs and regular content about this thing we worked in. And because we worked in it for so many years, and we had lots of clever people working in it, we were the experts in where customization crossed with payment cards. Now, that's not trying to be boastful, because that's not there's nothing boastful about that. We knew more than any man or woman needed to know about payment cards, but we were real specialists in that thing. So we wanted to talk about that and show to these prospects that we were the experts and we were the trusted advisors if they decided to buy server-side software, that we would implement it and implement it successfully and in a trustworthy way. So everyone wrote content in January, and it was absolutely brilliant. And we created a newsletter and we sent it out to as many of these 200 people as possible. And then February came around, and nobody ever did it again, because we were too busy flying to Singapore or flying to Alabama or whatever it might be to sell to these clients. So what we did was we outsourced it to an ex-FT journalist, and he wrote this beautiful content, but he simply didn't have a clue about what we knew about this very niche thing we worked in. So it just didn't work, this ghostwritten content. So eventually we just took the blog down altogether, and it was really disappointing because it would have worked brilliantly if we'd done it properly, but we just didn't have time to do it. So when we sold Server-Side Group in 2012, we thought maybe there's other companies have the same problem. And it turns out that everyone we've ever talked to pretty much has this problem, from a one-man band all the way up to the big four, McKinsey's, whatever. They have this exact problem. They really struggle to get the knowledge out of the time per knowledge-rich experts within their firms.
So, all of the objections that we always get: I don't have time for blogging. You need to get proper writers. I'm not a very good writer. No one wants to hear what I've got to say. All of those are common objections that we get around of blogging.
Yeah, that's right. We kind of put it into four things. One, it just takes too long. So it might take 4 hours to write a post, maybe a couple of days if you're not a really comfortable writer. And secondly, it's hard work. So actually locking yourself in your office on a Friday and thinking, what's my piece of thought leadership on South Sea China shipping law, and kind of introducing and setting the scene, doing all that's pretty hard work. And the third one is people don't get enough feedback when they do create something. So the marketing team say to the expert, create a blog on this or create a blog on that. And they finally do it, and by the time they get around to it, it's probably no longer timely anymore.
Yeah.
But they give it to marketing, it goes up onto the website, and they never hear anything about it. But if you can tell that expert, here's how many people read it, and here's how many people shared it, and here's how many people maybe clicked and opened it on the newsletter, and all of a sudden, it doesn't need to be thousands of people. It might just be 1 or 2 reads, but as long as it's their key clients or most important prospects, then it's kind of job done, and they'll do it again the following week. And the fourth thing is it's just not very much fun, the whole process, for the marketing team or for the experts who are creating the content.
So what I mean, I pretty much try and do a Passle daily.
Okay.
And just so people know, we use Passle, and the response. I think the feedback is is really important, because I think that there's certainly the response that I'm seeing is immense, and it took me, I think it was about 20 minutes today to basically write something. So it is very, very quick. I know one of your clients has actually got measured the fact that I think it's at 8.5 blogs that they get a lead for every 8.5 blogs.
Yeah, so that's the NTT Group, which is the 4th biggest telecoms company in the world. And they were able to tell us because they use marketing automation. They have that plugged in behind their website, and it links all the way through to their Salesforce CRM. So when they share one of their pieces of Passle content to LinkedIn, they can track it into their website and all the way through to their CRM. And yeah, they said it was 8.6 posts.
That's it. Yeah.
1 qualified lead for them. I don't know how much a piece of one business is for them, but I'm pretty sure it pays for Passle for about 20 years.
Yes. So I mean, the whole piece behind Passle is it's just something very, very simple. Well, so I find an article because most people I talk to are continual readers, and I think most people who work certainly in the IT sector or in any part of business nowadays realize that they have to be, it's a continual learning process. So, you know, we come across articles, we read it, we have an opinion, and then actually it's about putting that out very, very quickly and efficiently, which is where really it's the only time that it takes is to put that very 1-2 pieces of your opinion down and out, which is about your thoughts and that thought leadership, and then sharing it.
Yeah, that's right. And a lot of our users kind of seem to do it on this these days on
Yes.
on the phone. So what happens is people are reading. They're either reading maybe the FT or the Times or the Guardian, keep up to date with what's going on in the world, or they're reading these very niche magazines. You know, it's I don't know, Corporate Finance Weekly or South Sea China Shipping Law Monthly or whatever.
That's my favorite, that one.
Yeah, that's a good read.
Yeah.
So they're reading these things. And what a lot of our clients tell us, what they used to do is they'd be on the train, they read something, and they go, oh, I should write a blog about that or a piece of market content that when I get into the office. And then they get to the office and the paperwork's that high.
And the phone rings and the meeting start. Yeah.
So it just doesn't happen. So that ability to kind of capture that thought as they have it is a very powerful thing. And then all of a sudden, by the time they got into the work, it's been through the approval process, and marketing and sales now have this insight from the subject matter expert. They can start pushing out to their clients and prospects.
Because when we actually use Passle, we use it in a way where we put it out immediately, that you can actually have an approval process, that it actually goes to a person and they actually have to read it and approve it to fit in with the tone of voice and any other things or rules or regulations that you may have. And then what happens to it? So it goes out onto the web, or what happens?
Yeah, so once you've created and as you say, for you guys, it's okay because you can kind of approve your own stuff. And for most of our clients, especially the bigger you are, it has to go through an approval process. So we built that into the back end of Passle and made it really, really slick. So there's no Word documents and emails flying about everywhere. It's kind of in one hub where people can come in. Whoever needs the ticket for approval can do it there. So once you've done that and it's been approved, it basically goes onto your website. So it feeds directly into your website, and it almost sits as a hub in your website. And then from there, you can do lots of things with it. So what we always say is getting that expert knowledge out of the head of your subject matter expert, these very busy expert, is the toughest bit. If you can crack that, then there's so much you can do with that content. So once it's in your website, you can share to your social networks, you can create newsletters with it, or you can share it directly one-to-one with key clients and prospects. And what we've seen, which you might be able to touch more on, Tim, because this one pushes into your domain expertise. And what we've seen with busy experts is that social media starts to make more sense when they've got their own insights to share, because so many people have been told for years, you need to do LinkedIn, you need to do Twitter. And so they set up their LinkedIn account and they upload their CV, connect with their old university pals, and maybe some of their work colleagues, maybe some clients and things as well. And then they're not really sure what else to do with it. Maybe they come on once a year and look for a new job somewhere else, and that's about it. And what we've seen is that when people start to create their own insights, they've all of a sudden got something very relevant to share with their connections. And then when someone comments on it or likes it or does some sort of action against that piece of content, they're in a position to reply to that because it's their insight. They know what it's all about. You know, it's not been ghostwritten. It's not been come from marketing saying, push this out and push that out. It's their insight. And importantly, when people click on it, it's always bringing people back to your website. So as my colleague James always says, it's all about, you know, show what you know to bring them in to show them.
And so what we have is a Passle. All of our Passles go onto a Passle website, and that looks like our own website, and we connect that to our own website. So we post our own blogs, but we also have the Passle piece as well. And what we find is, for example, we use Lead Feeder as a way of finding who's coming to our websites. We get feedback actually from Lead Feeder and Google Analytics around that Passle piece. Yeah,
so basically it goes onto a CNAME or subdomain of your website. So it sits on your actual website, your domain. We just host that page, but it's seamlessly integrated. So we replicate the header and footer of your website. So if anyone comes to your website, they don't know they're going to a different server, and they're always on your domain. So all the SEO juice and thing goes to you.
So in terms of, I was going to pick up on some of the 6 principles that you had in terms of, or at least one of them, around authority. But before that, as a salesperson, tell us about what you can do in terms of taking content and actually putting it in front of people. So, for example, if I want to sell to the CEO of Royal Bank of Scotland, what do I do? Do I ring him or her up, or do we send them a bunny in a box because we're trying to be different? And what can we do?
Yeah, so it's really interesting question. So when we first built Passle, kind of 4.5, 5 years ago, it was more about driving web traffic and driving share of voice on the social networks and things like that. And I think that's what people were KPI'd on a few years ago. So we could go in and we could get their web traffic up 40% and get 400% more engagement on the social network. And people were kind of happy with that. But I think it's changing now, and people are saying, well, so what? What does it matter if I get an extra 5,000 or 10,000 people on my website? What does it actually mean for my business? So it's great when I talk about MTT because they can track it all the way through into their CRM. But most of the companies we see and have worked with are not doing that yet, and especially in professional services. There's very few using any type of marketing automation or tracking. And so we started to change Passle a little bit and add additional tools to it that help drive kind of revenue and business. So we built a tool which is called Istatoy, and that stands for Istatoy. It stands for I saw this and thought of you.
Oh, right.
This is where you can take an insight you have written or one that your colleague's written and share that directly with that key prospect or client. And this has been a real kind of game changer for us, because all of a sudden you don't need the whole firm writing content. You maybe just need your subject matter experts doing that, but everyone else can take those insights and share them with their prospects and leads. So if you're maybe at, say, a law firm and you're the BD person, let's say one of the partners has written an insight about technology law or GDPR or something like that, and you were in a meeting with a prospect last week, well, then you can follow up that meeting. So, we're not saying you don't go and meet the people and phone people. You do all of that still. But what you can do a couple of days after that meeting is you can Istatoy them the partner's insight around GDPR or whatever it is you were talking about. And you say, hey, Jane, it was great to meet you last week. And we were talking about this thing and this thing. Interestingly, our lead partner in GDPR wrote this very thing very close to that. And then all of a sudden, you can start to influence those really key people.
Because I think that, for me, that's what I would call hyper-personalization. I think some people, the term hyper-personalization still means sending out a mail shot or a newsletter to multiple people. If someone wants to influence me, then what they need to do is they need to know something about me and talk to me. And there's quite a lot on the internet about me that they can actually get some background information.
Yeah.
So we actually trialed it, and we were amazed because, of course, people are flattered. You've taken the time to actually, say, we had a meeting, you said these things, and I always was told in sales you should take notes. Because even if you can remember the stuff, because it shows to the person that you're actually interested in what they're saying, so you take notes. But if you actually go to them and say, we talked about GDPR, for example, here's an article on GDPR, certainly the response that we've got has been amazing, because people go, it's great that you're actually listening.
Yeah. I think it's a couple of things. So one is the fact you're listening and you care. Secondly, it's just getting you above maybe your competition, that you're kind of feeding them this information that's useful to them. So it has to be useful information that will help them do their job more effectively. And And thirdly, it just demonstrates you as the expert. So it wasn't just me who came in and talked and demonstrated I was an expert, but we've got Paul, and we've got Sandra, and we've got David, and we've got this whole team of experts at our firm who are all thinking about this very issue that you have. And all of a sudden, you can set yourselves up as kind of the go-to experts in your field.
Yeah. So in terms of the six principles, because you actually, I think you mentioned it on your website. So I've actually bought his book. There's a guy called Robert Cialdini.
I think it's Cialdini or Cialdini. We often argue about it.
And his 6 principles. I'm gonna read them out. So I'm not going to test you on them, Connor. So they are, and this is at 6 principles of influence, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which are reciprocity, commitment and consistency, social proof, authority, liking, and scarcity. And if you go to Wikipedia, because I've actually just taken this off Wikipedia, it's not that I'm super clever, and it actually walks you through these things. But if you think about the process of sharing content with people, or even sending them a piece of content, you can see that people actually walk themselves through this. In terms of if you send them, if you send someone, yesterday I was out at a meeting with a friend, and he's a friend plus it's business, and we meet at the train station. He hands me a Christmas card.
Yeah.
For those watching, it's currently the 21st of December and it's coming up to Christmas. So I have to basically write him a Christmas card and give him one back, don't I?
Yes.
Because it's polite to do that.
Yeah.
And I in a way I kind of feel guilty. I didn't think about the Christmas card. So the fact that if someone gives you something, you do feel that there's a psychological need to give someone something back.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's reciprocity is very powerful indeed, and we feel that they owe you something as well. And we actually got an interesting Tim from one of our clients who shared Istatoid, one of their articles, and they actually emailed us this. I'll just read this quote to you quickly because it's really fascinating. And he said, he was the deputy managing director of a consulting firm, and he emailed to say, we used Istatoid to send one of our Passle insights following an initial chemistry meeting with a potential client where the topic of tone of voice for lawyers was raised. When they got in touch to say we'd made the cut to the next stage, the lady who was running the process said, we liked how you really engaged with us. Things like the I saw this and thought of you article you sent just showed a real commitment to the relationship. So again, I suppose there's a bit of reciprocity there, because they've provided this useful information. And interestingly, it hasn't won them the piece of business yet, but it's certainly done them no harm.
But it's got them to the short list or long list. And in sales, sales, obviously sales is about winning, and it is about winning deals. But from a tactical perspective, it's also about getting you to the next stage.
That's right. And this is all just about nurturing through that sales process. I've got a call with a big law firm tonight in San Francisco, 11 o'clock this evening. I met this firm back at the Legal Marketing Association event in Las Vegas back in April. And I've slowly been nurturing that relationship by providing them useful information and how to get engagement from the lawyers in the firm and things like that. And hopefully tonight we'll finally get there. But it's been, we've all done a good job here at Passle trying to present them our product and stuff. But there's only so many times that we can ring up and say, are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? Are you ready to buy? So we've done this very soft approach where we keep nurturing them with our insights, and insights not just from me but from the wider team here at Passle, to build up that trust so that when they do come and work with us, they can trust that we're going to implement this effectively for them.
And it's personalized rather than the conversation I was having yesterday was around a marketing automation engine that was deciding that so you in effect were using a robot to decide where somebody was within the funnel. And whenever you enter somebody into a marketing automation system, you're assuming that they're at the top, even though they may have actually spent 3 years already researching that they need a new human resources system or something. And so it starts firing out pieces of content, and they may already be 60% of the way down the funnel. Whereas this, you're actually doing something personalized, and we're making decisions as salespeople, saying, "This is my prospect. What is it that's going to get me to the next stage?"
Yeah, well, it has to be personalized, because if people know this is coming from a robot, and then not only will it not help, but it might actually be detrimental to doing the deal and cause more harm. And what we've seen with more of our clients, and it's why we kind of use this phrase expert to expert marketing, is that for a lot of our clients, they're actually not trying to talk to tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people. They're not trying to sell a bike or a Mars bar or a tin of Red Bull. And so maybe marketing automation doesn't make quite as much sense. I always tell the story. One of our clients is one of the big four, and we were in with their head of insurance consultancy. And we were talking to him. We were kind of like, "What do you want to get out of this?" And they were talking about, maybe we want, I don't know, 3,000 reads a month. And this is where we said, "Are there even 3,000 people in the world who could possibly buy insurance services off your firm?" And he said, "No." And we said, "Well, who do you actually want to sell to?" And he named 4 big insurance companies. And we said, "And who do you want to influence at those firms?" And he was like, "This title, this title." And he named about 4 or 5 job titles. So we always say we got the world of 7 billion people into 20 people. And that's the only people he wants to influence. That's the only people he needs to read his insights. And if he can influence those 20 people, then he's going to be delighted in his content.
So, I was cold called yesterday about, did I want to get 2 tickets for the England-Wales game in coming up in February?
Yes.
And if you're at that sort of level, then you know, cold calling and yes, no, that. But if you're in a situation where you're probably an IBM or an Oracle, you may only have say an account-based where you've got 5 accounts.
Yeah, exactly that. And we see that more and more with our clients. I was on with another big accountancy firm the other day in Australia, and they said they have a list of 160 firms across the whole of Australia, and that's what they care about. So we're working with them now to use our tool to go and target those key people at those 160 firms. And you're right. So if there's 32 business development people, then they've got 5 accounts each. So they need to do a really top quality job when they are sharing something with those people, and it can't be done by a robot. It's got to be done in that very personalized way.
Connor, so we're remind everybody again.
Say that again. Sorry, Tim, you just broke up on me.
Remind everybody where they can get.
So they can go to www.passle.net, or they can email me for a bit more information on Connor, CONNOR, at passle.net.
Thank you very much. Really insightful. Sorry about the echo at the end.
Hey, no problems, Tim. Thank you so much for having us. Keep up the great work you and your team are doing there. And
You're welcome.
Look forward to talking to you soon.
Have a good Christmas.
Cheers. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Bye.